passionate, driven, enthusiastic, euphoric. This is who we are as entrepreneurs. But how we leverage these incredible attributes to dream and build businesses that scale and grow is what this podcast is all about. Hello, I'm attorneypreneur Josh Brown, and welcome to Franchise Euphoria. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Franchise Euphoria. Josh Brown here. Thrilled to be back. Today, we are going to get started fast and furious, and we're going to talk about something that is super important and really relates to some of the best business advice that I ever received, and that is start with the end in mind. So what does that actually mean? What does that mean for you and your franchise or the franchise that you're considering to purchase? Well, here's what it means. When you are looking to buy a business, to buy a franchise, it's scary. It's very, very scary. There's lots of things running through your head, lots of thoughts, lots of fear, lots of concerns. And so the default mechanism for many people is to just think about in a very small way, how am I going to get this thing up and going? How am I going to make payroll? How am I going to make ends meet? How am I going to make money? Which is all very important, don't get me wrong. But you have to start before any of that with the end in mind. You need to know before you buy a franchise what your ultimate goal is. Are you looking to eventually sell the business? Are you looking to eventually pass it on, perhaps to your son or daughter, other family member, spouse, whatever? Are you looking to grow the franchise? Maybe you want to start with one and then you want to look at owning possibly multiple units or possibly multiples of other franchises. Or, and this is not a bad option either, a lot of people do this. Are you looking just to keep the status quo? Are you looking at a franchise because you believe that it's a stable business, that it's been proven over time, and that you can make a sound living with it, and you would enjoy the aspect of just running the business and just maintaining a successful business, but you're not really looking for that growth opportunity? It is so important that you think about this and get a very, very clear idea of what you want to do with respect to this before you buy the franchise. Remember, a principal difference between buying a franchise and buying a business is that you are signing a long-term contract. The average franchise agreement is 10 years in length. Sure, there's some that are 5, some that are 15, some that are even 20 years long. Please don't put yourself in a position to where you're going to have buyer's remorse. I am seeing this more and more and more where people are rushing. They're rushing into a franchise purchase. Stop doing that. Don't do that. They are very, very, very difficult to get out of. It is not. You cannot just buy a franchise, pay the franchise fee, and 30 days later decide you made a bad decision and just easily get your money back. In fact, oftentimes you can't get your money back. So that $35,000 that you're going to pay on a franchise fee, you might not be able to get that back. That $10,000 you're going to pay on that home-based franchise, you might not be able to get that money back. So I understand the excitement and the opportunities that you believe are in front of you. But what I would caution you to do, and the point of this whole episode, is to start with the end in mind. And here's something. If you don't have an end in mind, that's a pretty good sign you're not ready to buy the business. Don't buy a business and then try to figure out the end after you've bought the business. It's different when you are somewhat different. You should always start with the end in mind, but it is somewhat different between a regular business and a franchise because, like I said, when you buy a franchise, you are locked in. If you don't take time to think about your end game and you're just starting your own business, well, you can shift, you can pivot, you can decide to do something else, and you don't have the threat of non-competes, or you don't have the threat of breach of contract, or you don't have hopefully you don't have the threat of a large investment gone to waste. So again, there is more flexibility when you don't think about the end game when you're just starting your own business. But when you are buying a franchise, it is an absolute must. So think about these things before you invest your hard-earned money. I gave you 4 examples, whether, are you looking to sell it, pass it on, grow and invest in that system or others, or just keep the status quo. There can be other reasons to buy a franchise as well. Those 4 just happen to be predominantly what people think about when they purchase the franchise. There is no right or wrong answer. This is a personal decision. You need to take a look at where you are in your life, where you are with your finances, where you are, and what you want to accomplish from that. A perfect example is many people who have retired from corporate life or been let go or are at that age. Maybe they're in their early 60s and they are retiring, but they realize they've still got a long time left, a lot of productive years left, and they want to do something with that. Well, that's going to be a very, very different assessment from somebody who's in the middle of their career. Maybe they're in middle management at a corporation and have some money saved up and they're just dying to get out of it and want to look at franchise opportunities. That's going to be very different from somebody who's a baby boomer retiree. It's also going to be different if you're young, if you're right out of college. Maybe you're looking to buy a franchise and kind of learn how to run a business from that. All these examples are very personal examples to what your story is, to where you are in your life. But don't discount the value of thinking into the future. Don't prevent yourself from thinking ahead of time so that you don't make the mistake of signing on the dotted line and then regretting it thereafter. Well, I hope this tip was helpful for you today. And you can always send me questions, thoughts, opinions at josh@indiefranchiselaw.com. You can also go to my website at indiefranchiselaw.com where you can receive a free ebook that tells you what you need to know before you buy a franchise. I will tell you this, I have a revised edition of that coming out here soon. I don't have a release date on that, but it will be coming out here soon. Thank you again for your support. And until the next time, happy franchising.
Thanks for being with us today on the Franchise Euphoria podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to go to iTunes and provide a review. Also, please remember that although Josh Brown is a licensed and practicing attorney, nothing contained in this podcast should be construed as legal advice, because it is not. The information contained in this podcast is general and educational in nature, and none of it should be relied upon as legal advice. That being said, if you have questions for Josh and would like to contact him, please email him at josh@franchiseeuphoria.com. Thank you so much for listening, and we hope you tune in to our next weekly episode.